Recently, through much hype and recommendation, I decided to try out the mod Requiem by Zerion and Ogre Boss, available right on Skyrim and Nexus. And it's one of the three main Overhaul mods that people use alongside with Ace and Skyrim Redone. And there are a lot of things to note about the mod, and the main goals of the mod right here are listed right on the top of it. And keep all this in mind. And if you haven't used this before, keep all this in mind. 1. Make the game experience deeper and more believable by adjusting everything in a semi-realistic way suitable for a high fantasy world while keeping things as lore-friendly and immersive as possible. 2. Make it more challenging. 3. Make it more fun. 4. Make it feel like older titles. Deus Ex, Arena, Daggerfall, Morrowind, Baldur's Gate, Planescape Torment, Gothic, just to name a few of the inspirations. Make it as simple, stable, and bug-free as possible. No use of any script extending programs or any other required third-party utilities. That's a turn-off for some people when they use mods, that they have to use this mod, and then they have to use this compatibility patch, and then this update, and then this software, and then figure out how to use this software. This doesn't require any of that. This requires the main file, and that's it. There are some compatibility mods out there that do work with this, but that's about it. When you there's a lot of things about the mod, and then right here on the front page it's listed that it is much more. Some people didn't really like it. No arguments given. At no point does this cause crashes for me. Pretty disappointing. Complain about high-end combat being too easy. Fixed accordingly. High-end combat too easy. One of the things that the mod does, it does make it more difficult, and it just ups the difficulty a lot. On the other hand, you get rewarded more for it. You get, whenever you tackle on a bandit chief at the halted steam camp, you may find yourself with a very valuable and useful weapon. Bear in mind, you might be level 2. Lots of things to be known about. For starters, whenever you start out, you have 3 perks you can use automatically. Go ahead, pick them, put them in. This is where using something like some mod like the character creation overhaul does come in handy. As you choose your skills, you can choose what you want. I myself chose a type of an archer-based skirmisher, light armor, block, one-handed archery, as well as sneak and smithing for that matter. So I have my Nord skirmisher. So this way, you can. This way, I can kind of stay fleshed out, as well as I could stay with a familiar path of combat while still fleshing out my character in different ways, while I use Requiem. Enemies are much more deadly, or rather, combat is much more deadly. You can one-shot your enemy, but your enemy can one-shot you as well. You might notice that some enemies have more powerful spells. You're level 2 and you're going into a bandit camp, and all of a sudden a fireball's coming at you. Where the heck did the bandit learn fireball from? That's something that usually mages and conjurers and pyromancers have. Well, now your run-of-the-mill ragtag bandit caster has this as well. You've been warned. As I played and I went on, I did discover some things were a little irritating for me. My bow's breaking. I find that incredibly irritating. Not because it's irritating, oh crap, I don't have a bow. Okay, yeah, that's irritating on its own, but if it's a game mechanic, fine. I will work around that. I will carry extra bows with me. But how come there isn't a broken bow in my inventory now? Or by my feet that I have to pick up and I have to mend and repair this? What if I could repair these bows? Then I'd be okay with it. But I'm not okay with the fact that I can't mend my bows. I don't like the Requiem death cam because it cuts off way too short. One of the reasonings for this was because it lets you not look around so you can use some things to your advantage later. I've never once done that playing this, I've got to admit, because anytime I'm laying on the ground, maybe it's just me, but when I'm laying on the ground, I'm laying on the ground. And I know, that sounds really silly. Well, yeah, of course you're laying on the ground. Well, yeah, I'm laying on the ground. That's just it. I'm laying on the ground and I don't see anything useful. I'm just there, and then I see feet walking around me, and I hear some trash talk. I don't see. You can't see anything used to your advantage. You may get a glimpse of it, but usually you don't. That's not how the vanilla death cams were set up. One of the other things I'm not terribly big fan of is when you're low on health. And I got this at about 50% health for me. I got this heartbeat sound. It's really irritating. I'm not low on health. I mean, I may have been at maybe about 60 points of health, but that's not really low per se. But thankfully, this is something the mod author took into account. If you go to your Skyrim folder, all you have to do is go into Data, and then zip down to Optional Files, and then Optional Zero Frustration Setup. What is handy about this is you can pick what you want. Oh, I don't like some things about the combat. Okay, let's see here. Blockable damage adjustment. What's this ESP? 50%, 75%. And then all you have to do is take it, copy it, or move it. I'm just going to copy it for the sake of it. And then you just paste it in. Requiem. Then all you have to do is open up your mod sorting utility. I use Nexus Mod Manager like almost everyone out there does, really. And then you just got to find it. One of the things is when you drop it in there, you have to click it on your ESP lists over here. You have your mods, and then you actually have your ESP and ESMs and such and such and such. One of the other things to be of note is, as when you're using mods, sometimes data will overwrite other data. Example, I couldn't get my health bar, stamina bar, magical bars to be opaque because for whatever reason it overrides the the Requiem ESP overrides that in the iHUD ESP. So be sure that you load stuff like iHUD after that, brighter torches, things like that. One of the biggest complaints about the mod that I have seen, and quite frankly this is, in a way I do feel this as well, it changes the difficulty to just change the difficulty. It doesn't, and it's said to do it to make it more of a challenge, but to me there's a difference between something being challenging and then something just being hard. Something that's challenging makes you have to think, use your tactics, and then sometimes when something is just hard, it turns out to be more grinding. It's a fine line, and some people think hard is a challenge and challenge is boring. That's my opinion of it. And like I said, I like a challenge. I like to fight. I don't mind being swarmed or mobbed. I mean, if anyone watches my Let's Plays, I may be frustrated and yell about it and get them to the mic, but at the same time, it doesn't actually bother me because it's fun. In the end, I feel like I have played a fun game. But if you're having problems with anything, go ahead and just drop in this bundled optional Zero Frustration Setup bundle. It gets rid of the Requiem kill cam. You have the vanilla attribute gain on setup, and more. Everything else you want is in there. There's some things that don't bother me. I don't mind the gold having a weight. Gold has no weight, so now I have to store my gold somewhere. I need to buy a house, keep it in a chest, keep my gold in a safe, something like that. There are some very nice touches added into the game. Among them are the font. I like the more fantasy-based font. I like the verbiage that's used whenever you get your messages, like in the top left-hand corner. If you're looking for a mod that adds a challenge without adding third-party software and without giving you too much micromanagement in your load order, this would be it. Of course, I say micromanagement in your load order, and then you get to the optional files. So when you start having to customize it is when you might have to start managing things just a little bit better. That being said, one of the things I would like to see is, even though it's many options, make those options right up front without dropping in your ESPs yourself. Call it lazy, call it maybe making it more user-friendly. But, for example, with Project Reality, I have a modular setup right here. I can choose what I want, and then I'm good to go. It installs everything for me, and puts it in my load order for me. That would also help because now I wouldn't miss anything. Everything is put right in front of me, right up front. Yes, this is more work, and you can say someone's being lazy, or in my case, someone just may have overlooked it. I may not have seen the resting bonuses for skill rates because I may be blind as a bat. You gotta sometimes I mean that would be the one thing I'd like to see done overall about it. I've been asked a number of times, hey, is Requiem worth it? Have you tried it? What have you thought about it? Here's the way I look at it. The two really good things about Requiem is, well, actually there's three really good things about Requiem when it comes to everything overall. One, it's, compared to others, a relatively small overhaul mod. So it doesn't take that long to download, which is always really nice, and at the same time it's light on the scripts, as it says in the description. Two, it doesn't require a whole heck of a lot of micromanaging. It does require some, you know, like I said, bring the extra bows, make sure you have enough potions, but that makes sense, you gotta make sure you're stocked up. And three, you can adjust the difficulty all depending on your liking. All you have to do is go to your Skyrim folder, data, and then go to optional files and pick what you do want changed. That's available for change. Or if you just want the easy stuff, optional 0 frustration setup. And just, like I said, copy, paste, and then after that, make sure you use Nexus Mod Manager or whatever utility that you use for your mods, and be sure you check the ESPs on so that you're good to go. It is a challenge, and I can't say whether I do or do not like it yet. So far, I'm enjoying it. And then there are things I just don't like about it, but hey, I can fix that, and then I can go ahead and dive deeper into the game itself. So we will see. However, I don't think I'm going to go too far into using Requiem until there is Dragonborn support for it, because I don't want to go Solstheim and find everyone be horribly, ridiculously overpowered, or underpowered, and me being overpowered because I'm using, you know, the Skyforged steel weaponry, and that has been adjusted accordingly for Requiem, while, you know, maybe the chitin armor has not, maybe the Solstheim armor has not, the Nordic carved armor has not. So that's just something to take a look at. And I don't know about everything else too, because the foods also play a part into it. The boar meat, raw meats can provide poisons for 6 of the races in the game. But if you happen to be an Argonian, a Khajiit, an Orc, or a Bosmer, then when you eat this, the raw meats actually give you a bonus when you're out of combat. It gives you increased regeneration. So maybe you're in combat, and then maybe you're in combat, and now you're in between 2 zones you're never going to have combat in. All you have to do is eat some of that raw meat, and if you're one of the 4 races with a strong stomach, you're good to go. So overall, it's worth trying if you want to change. And if you find it to be too hard or you don't like mechanics, remember, you can adjust those. Go into the folders, pull out the ESPs you need, and place them back in. And finally, yes, I think you should give it a try to see if you like it. And if you don't, just uninstall it. It's as easy as that. Now, it's important to note that when you're using Requiem, you do need to create a new character. And because of the way Requiem works, I personally recommend using character creation Overhaul. However, I haven't created a character without the Overhaul mod in ages. It is a highly recommended mod by yours truly. Well, that's it for this little spotlight that I made, just to give a highlight and a spotlight and some light to Requiem. Download it, let me know if you like it or not, and come back to me, and most of all, let them know on the Requiem page itself on Skyrim Nexus.